Okay guys, welcome to part 3 of the How to Draw series with Tim Michael, and I am going to continue on here. Sorry about the change in the microphone. The one that I was using before had a little bit of static in it, so I thought it would be best just to go with the normal computer system. So you may hear some extra sounds, some extra beeps and whoops and things, but hopefully we'll be able to keep that to a minimum as much as possible. So anyway, if you've watched the previous 2 videos, this is the character that we are working on. Rocket Man. I have no clue what we'll actually call him or what he will be doing. But the preliminary concept is done. I am going to go in and fill some of these areas here with black just to make sure that that color is settled for him, because I'm thinking I'm just going to continue using this black that I've already chosen to go ahead and just shade right over top of, just to help us get that character design a little bit more copacetic. So I'm just going to go over all these areas that are not filled to black, and I'm just going to be kind of messy about it because it's not really it's not hard to go over and erase outside of the lines. So I'm just going to go ahead and just make sure that we got a complete fill of all the areas that need to be done here. So that way there's no chance of missing out on some of the important black areas. Okay, and there we go. And of course we can go back in later. We'll erase some of this stuff and clean it up and make sure that we're happy with what we got so far. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down my my main layer just a bit more. There we go. And that's for the concept color, the concept design block in that we just did. And then I'm going to turn on my other layers here, and I'm also going to drop their opacity down just a bit. Okay, now that that's done, now I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, well, oops, back up, there we go. I'll zoom out here, show you what I got here. That looks really cool, doesn't it? I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to look like done. I'm going to go in now with the shadows, and then I'll go back in with the highlights. So what I'm going to do is start on a new layer, so that way we're starting off with a fresh slate, and I'm going to make sure it's on top of all the other layers. And then I'm going to select what the dark is right now and go a little bit darker now. Actually, I'm thinking that's still a little dark. So I'm going to go back here and change the opacity a little bit more. There we go. It's a bit closer to what I'm looking for. So, go and select what color we have. And we'll go, actually, let's start off with the highlights. So I'm going to grab a highlighted tone. And I think we'll start off with the space. Get nice and close to that. And I'm going to select a brush with a heavy feather. And I'm also going to drop my opacity. I know you can't see where my mouse is going because I'm trying to stay within the 1280 by 720 field. But I'm changing my opacity right now to about 25%. I'm going to make my brush size a bit smaller. I'm using a Wacom Cintiq, which allows me to program in the certain buttons that I want to do. So one of them handles my brush size, as you can see. Another one handles my zoom, and a whole bunch of settings. I'll have to go through and show you sometime. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to have this be like a night scene. So I want anything that's on the bottom of him to be lit. So any areas where we would usually put light, we're going to put shadow, and vice versa, because the light's coming from below, not from up above. So I'm just going to start by finding out where those highlight areas are going to be and start filling them in. Basically, put shadow with a light brush where you would usually put it with a dark brush. Go a little bit bigger on my brush size. And like always, don't worry about going outside those bounds. You're going to erase later, so it fits in there better. So right now, just enjoy yourself. Color in the lines. as best as possible. Oop, kind of jumped there. There we go. We're gonna hit the bottom of this leg a little bit. I'm using the regular brush settings that are built into Photoshop. That's usually all I need, and if you ever need to go a little harder, all you got to do is just click a couple more times. Now you need to make sure that your settings for how often you can undo are set pretty high. If you have a powerful computer, that's not a problem, but if you have a weaker system, that could give you some extra issues in the end. So just be aware of that, because when you try and continually click to go in deeper, you're putting yourself more at risk of having no way to undo. So it already looks kind of like he's being lit from the bottom, which is exactly what I want. Now I'm going to go with the opposite. I'm going to start putting in the shadows. So I'm going to select what our dark tone is and go shade darker. And now everything that's on top that would usually be lit, I'm now going to darken. In certain areas I'm going to have to hit several times because you find your mistakes when you're in another area. So what you thought was supposed to be lit, as you go back over and you look again, you go, oh, I guess not. So that's fine. You just figure it out and do it step by step. No one else cares. You know, it's your fault, and you just fix it. It's not stupidity. It's not anything other than you just learning. I'm going to wait to do our flying machine here, because I want to just get the body structure down on this guy. We're already at 7 minutes on him, and I'm still trying to get the stuff put in. I'm thinking in the next video, we're going to go in and harden up his face and get him looking in bat mode. Oh, I just did the wing. Okay, well, I'll do the other wing. I just totally did exactly what I said I wasn't going to do. Go figure. Okay. And that's going to be white under there, so I'm just going to go ahead and switch back over my... Whoop. Drop my opacity down. A little bit more. At a 10% opacity. Well, I know why. I'm working with white now, so you can switch back and forth. What I should have done is I should switch this white to the gray that I'm doing my work in, so set it as a high gray. And then that way, if I'm working on something and I think it needs to be black instead of white, I can just switch. So like this, boop, like here, and then I can go in here with some of the dark. And then go, okay, well the top of that should probably be more white. So we'll just come back over top. See? So if you know how to do the presets, it's going to help you out a lot. We're going to get a lot more into blending and stuff later on. Right now, this is just concepts and kind of trying to inspire you to start seeing what you need to see that it'll make you want to keep working on the piece. I find if the piece starts looking like what I had in mind, I'll want to continue working on it. If it starts getting finicky on me, I'll give up. So let's take a look now. That looks really good. And let's go ahead and take care of these pipes here. Go a bit darker on my opacity. Heavier on the hair. And I'm going to kind of show where the hair draws in. You can also come out here a little bit. Okay. And we are at 9 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and do the start on the ship, on the plane, on the jetpack. And that's going to be metallic, so that's going to be a little bit more intensive, and we'll have to get into that in another video a little later. course, I want to only work on the stuff that I make mention on in these videos. So right now it's just tone, trying to get the tone correct. And that's definitely going to be dark because that's the top. That means that there's not going to be any light hitting it whatsoever, because it's the opposite of where the light would hit. Right here, though, is going to be pretty white, as well as under here. And this bottom area of this wing here, maybe a little bit of that flap. Same thing on this side, coming up the side here. And then these spikes, I'm going to probably brighten that up. And of course there's going to be reflection casts and stuff, so we'll go in a little later and draw some of those in. Alright, let's zoom out and take a look. That's a very good start so far. He really does seem to be popping off that paper, which is a very good feeling to have. I love that. And let's take a look at what it looks like without the sketched layers. Okay, so this is looking really good because without any sketches in here, you can still see that he's popping out. He is 3D, and so that means that you did your shading well. So congratulations if you got this far, and if you're drawing along with me. If not, then hopefully this will inspire you to know what to look for when it's time to continue. So I'm going to stop the video here. Make sure you check out my website, timmichaelarts.com, for webcomics. And also you can buy a caricature from me from the Buy a Caricature section on my website. And I will enjoy continuing this with you in a few minutes here. Gotta stop this video, let it render, and then I will be back to do another one with you. So I'll see you in a little bit.